So we are here, and the crazy part about we're here, if you see the thumbnail. So I was actually at work, and I was driving, and while I was driving, I just so happened to look at this tow truck. Tow truck was towing away a car, and it looked like the car was actually sold and was being transported, something like that, to somewhere else. Wasn't nothing wrong with it. To my understanding, the tag was taken off. What's going on, third? The tag was taken off, and it wasn't wrecked. And I seen another car back there too, so that's why I figured that it was being transported because both of the cars, were in good condition. Nothing really wrong with them, but the whole extent they were being towed off. And just so happened I'm looking and I see these two red things at the bottom of the bumper. And I'm like, what's that? Then I turn around and I see MGTOW. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I've heard guys talk in the space. I even heard, I've seen guys, actually offline. But to start seeing people, like put that on their cars and stuff and, probably just pushing it out more, it's starting to be like the new Fight Club. And you know, if everybody kind of remember the Fight Club movie back in the day, and rule number one about Fight Club was always don't talk about Fight Club. And you see how far that got. The whole premise of the movie. Everybody damn near was in on it. Doctors, lawyers, everybody. And this is what the Manosphere is turning into, man. You know, you got a lot of guys in this space, you know, pushing the message, getting guys to, get along and have a voice in this whole thing. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people, need a lot of messages. I don't condone a lot of the you know, back and forth amongst some people, in this space because I did a video on that, being YouTube famous. That's what most of the people, well, not say most, but some of the people on here, they're doing. But the message is real, man, and like I say, and it's funny because even though I'm married, I've always said about this space that yeah, I've always said about this space. Yeah, you right there. I've always said about this space, man, to where it helps a lot of guys. Most of the guys, they truly need this space. And some of the guys that are in this space, you know, I'm trying not to cuss, but they just really need their butt beat, man, because guys are complaining about women that they can't get. You know, some guys gotta stay in their lane. The fact of the matter is the space was built on men, who had trauma situations that actually happened in their life, mothers that were a certain way to them, even bad relationship with fathers. To this space being a space to help cope with a lot of the stuff that's going on within the space. And it's a positive thing. But then most people coming over here, they flipping it up on the side and they want to make it as their playground, you know, coming in here giving bad advice to guys, guys who actually need it. Guys who I mean, even with the women, I can honestly say the women that come on Kevin's show, even though that they truly come on there to try to, you know, stunt Kevin, kind of, belittle him or whatever. at the end of the day, they really on there learning something. They don't want to admit it. You know, I seen a video yesterday, young lady, 25 years old. She was, pushing the issue that she wanted to be more like her mom. And when the conversation broke down, she started to realize she didn't want to be like her mom. She didn't want to go through a relationship with a guy who she ultimately tried to force because, you know, seeing her mom and her relationship, that's the norm. And a lot of people, truth be told, just don't know, you know. And that's why I think that the Manosphere is real good for most people. Because if you truly just don't know, this is where you try to get, answers, hopefully get resolved with your issues. And, like I said, relating it to Fight Club, man, it's a lot of guys within the space that can really help people and got good information. But, you almost got to filter through, and you can't take everyone's advice because you have guys here that's for the love of money. The guys are going to be here to essentially clock in and get a paycheck. And at most jobs, when you're clocking in, getting a paycheck, it's cool to, get in there, do what you got to do and get out. But you play around meantime to pass time. And but you got to actually watch some of these channels, man, because that's what a lot of guys are coming on here to do. Get a paycheck, you know, let you hear what you need to hear, and then go on off. You know, let's take for instance, I really don't even look at this guy. I never really heard of this guy too much. Well, I've heard of him, but I never really looked at his content. The guy Derek Jackson, just using him for an example. His bank is off of the women. So when the situation happened with him, you know, you can't burn that bridge down because that means you burn off your money. So to an extent, he had to do some what is the word I'm looking for? Uh it's like what do they call it in a hostage situation? Like crisis. They do like some quality control for crisis damage to the point where he can, what I'm saying, get things right within the community, you know, well, get things right within his own, situation to the point where it comes down to it, man. It's like, what are we really on here for? You know, because a lot of women, they adhere to what he's saying because, I always say, them feelings, them feelings get involved, and I can understand for a woman. But as a man, you need to not rely on your feelings, man. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being emotional. We've taught that when you fall off that bike, don't cry, rub it, and keep it going. Men are tough. You know, men do get emotional, men do cry. There's nothing wrong with crying, but within the situation, we need to stop with all the feelings when it comes to most of the men. You know, that's why I always push that men, we're always saying we want a woman to, let us guide her, or we're leaders of the community. Don't lead yourself down that rabbit hole when it comes to certain women. Let's stand straight up and tall, just as if we're in the military and saluting and handle our business. Because in the end, I'm not shaming men for this, but we're the ones carrying the community. Topaz was on the channel one time, and I kind of pushed his narrative one. She actually said the same thing I said about a woman actually leading a man. A woman's not going to go under, go into a burning house only because a man, saying, let's go over here, who's leading her, or they're in the burning house and she's trying to guide him out because he don't know what to do. The point of it is, There's two situations with that. For one, that man should have already had his stuff together before he got in that relationship. So there was no question who was the leader. And second, to where a woman has to lead a man in a relationship, of course, she's not going down with the ship. You know, what woman would naturally sit there and say that I'm walking into a burning house because my man told me to? No, that's not the scenario. That's not the case. You know, and for one, she should question herself for even dealing with a man like that. You know, we got to start getting back to the point where this big thing on shaming back in the day was was a big tactic. Calling people stupid, calling them dumb to a certain extent when you're trying to help. This whole shaming just to be funny and get some kicks and giggles, a couple of clicks, make your video famous, might get some clips out, memes and all that. It, it's funny to an extent to where it's not funny no more. And like I was saying about this space, it's growing, and within the guys like Fight Club, they built the empire. All those men with the whole notion of not talking about it. So whether guys talk to other men about this space, like I've always said, and I've heard a lot of other guys say this, women introduce them to this space. So by women introducing other men to the space, you know, that shows a little level of dysfunction amongst the women, but at the same time, they're seeing something because actuality, even though most of the women that guys talk about, that are hard head, this and that, they want to change, but at the same time, to a certain extent. Because why? They only want to change if they're getting something out of this deal. I mean, honestly speaking, they got everything right now. Why change up and lose it? So as men, we got to stop dealing with certain women. I mean, the biggest issue is if you take sex off the table, a lot of guys will be married in good relationships, and a lot of women, you know, will get there when they get there. Because as men, you got to understand, you're dealing with a woman, you want to deal with her in the premise of if you're trying to get married, to find a woman that's marry worthy. And I've always been saying this. When it come down to it, man, we're gonna have these talks. We're gonna have these situations to where, like I said, driving down the road, I seen this on this man bumper, MGTOW, with 2 red pills on there. You're gonna start seeing this more and more throughout. And I believe I was in Athens when I seen this, but like I said, it was more of a car transport, so it could have been coming from somewhere else. But the whole point of it is, this is going to, start to be an unspoken thing to where, like Fight Club, so many men are going to be on board with this. So it's going to be time out for the, guys that are pushing stuff to, get laughs or pushing things just to get views and get, the money. Of course, you're going to, going to make some money if you're putting out the content and you're asking for donations. That's a given. But to the extent to where you're only doing it to, touch these emotional talking points of the men who have been crushed, like that's another thing. And like I said, man, when it come down to it, the men in this space, it's almost like I've heard of the 3.0, and to me, I'm not even a part of those guys. If need be, I go ahead and start the 4.0. You know, the guys who out here, running around acting crazy. Because my thing is this, and no shaming on the gay community or lesbian or anything, but if I don't deal with men in that form of fashion, I'm not gonna be making videos every week talking about these men. Because why? That's their lane. You know, I've worked around, people like that. And what I do, I've always talked to them, gave them courtesy. I don't look at them in a certain way because that's their lifestyle. That's what they do. Of course I can judge, but at the same time, what good is that going to do me? I can judge a person all day by how they dress, by how they look, you know, even the type of girl that they deal with or something, anything. It's not going to change their outcome to a certain extent. This is what they chose to deal with in life. So if they're accepting it, I've always said, you know, if you cool with it, I'm cool with it. That's you. That's not my life. But to the point where we have a lot of guys making thousands of videos about how bad these women are. And some of these guys saying they're never gonna get married to women and all this. And I'm like, dude, if you don't like these type of women, don't talk about them, don't deal with them. Our content should be more focused on making money, letting the young brothers that's coming up understand. This is right now we need to start making money, putting things in play, you know, get an understanding who we are. That's how I always speak knowledge of self. Knowing who you are, knowing what you want to do. Have a path in life in which, you choose to walk, whether it be with a wife or without. Because if you're married or not married, life still goes on. You know, a lot of guys are, fighting this good fight by their damn self. They don't need nobody to feel whole. You know, that's always been my motto, man. If I got married, I got married. If I didn't get married, cool. I'm still gonna walk this path till I die. You know, and to the extent I did find a wife, hold on, right quick. Got to get this commercial break. Got a little call. Yeah, man. Sorry about that little interlude, man. Money calling on the phone. But yeah, back to what I was saying. When it come down to it, we got to start building the community, getting these guys focused on getting the money, buying houses. You know, the generational wealth thing is good when you have a family. If you don't have a family, guess what? It still works. You got brothers, they might have kids. You got cousins, you know, to an extent. If you want to leave money for your cousin's kids, so be it. If not, who are you going to give this money? You've acquired all this, wealth from your cars to your home, whether it even be jewelry or anything. You're going to essentially take all that and just throw it away to the state. Most guys, most families don't even have wills. I've seen a situation to where there was this family out in Mississippi had over 300,000. I think it was over 3,000 some acres. Essentially, this is the tactic that some people use in buying the land. The land was given to the family. They found a family member out in Ohio, found one in New York, and told them that they have property in Mississippi through their lineage. And if they were to sell a portion of that property, that they will be paid 20,000, 50,000. Some of them sold their portion for 10,000, 5,000. Hard up for money. And the crazy aspect of it is the guy who essentially bought that portion goes down to the courthouse, arranges that he wants to buy all of the land, and everything is done legally within the limits of the law. Because of this loophole, he essentially goes, put the ad in the paper, to where what? Most people are not reading papers, right? Because that's the old way of doing it. When the situation happened like this, even with back in the day with marriage, if you want to get a divorce from your wife and you essentially didn't want to kind of let her know that you're getting a divorce, even though she wanted to get a divorce, you put it in the paper. They run the ad for 30 days, and no one comes to say, well, I still want to be married. Or it's almost to the extent, like lost and found. You can't find the person. And once you run that ad, within the length of time, the court will go ahead and grant your divorce. Same thing in this scenario. The guy did that, and that goes and auctions off the property when no one is there to claim. This guy got 3,000 over 3,000 acres for less than $100,000 just because he know the game. And all he wanted was the trees on the land, which he could have go ahead and arrange to buy the trees off the land for a fair or decent price. But to the extent where the guy was greedy, he wanted more. Guy hit me up. Yeah, man, I'm back. But yeah, like I said, the guy ended up getting all that land because he didn't want to go ahead and arrange to, buy some of the trees or buy all the trees. Where if he just buy the land, he pick the trees whenever he want. He can build other trees whenever he want. And that's just what it was. The guy went around and not only did that in Mississippi, he did it in other areas. And it's to the extent to where if we don't have wills, we don't have means of, transferring our wealth, there's always going to be some crooked person coming in there to take it. And this whole infighting, it's crazy how you have a group of guys want to say they want to build a community and want to look out for the brothers, even though they want to talk about a particular type of man, within the space, the whole educated and this and that, the guy who hasn't done anything wrong, the guy who stands on principles. But you want to fight with the next man that's trying to come up and change his ways. Let's be honest, man. What what are we really gonna build that way? So you're saying it to the extent to which no man can change. You know, if you went to jail, you know, paid your time to society, you can't come out and become a doctor. You can't come out and be reformed. You're just gonna be that way forever. to the intellect side to where, we have debates where guys try to smash other guys and be like, I got him. Back in the day, it was always said, you want a cookie? Because you told me something. You gave me a little more intellect, a little smarts about myself. Told me something I didn't know to where, cool, I didn't know this. Cool, I've learned it through you. Cool, you changed a certain aspect of my mind about what I was thinking. Now, what's the next move? Leaving all this intellect and research and whatever you've done on YouTube, how good is that working for you? How good is that working? We can leave all this stuff on the table, arguing amongst the brothers within the community, but if we're not taking it offline and building and not even essentially just helping other people, if you're not doing nothing with your life, then what is worth? You know, because the whole aspect of showing receipts, that's when it starts hitting people over the head. I can talk as if I'm a millionaire, but the bank shows otherwise. You know, negative 200 in the rear. Waiting on Friday's paycheck, working paycheck to paycheck. You know, to a certain aspect, hell, I did that. I worked paycheck to paycheck. You know, and sometimes life get hard. I'm not gonna shame another man for that because he's in a situation. He's probably what the some people call in their season, or you know, to where they got to evolve to get up out of there. This whole notion of us, dealing with each other in a certain manner, like I said, relating it back to Fight Club, is it gonna work or isn't it? Are we gonna, break down the system and restart it? It's up to us working together. You know, how we gonna build? DS1 always talk about heal before you build. The aspect of a lot of guys, you know, well, I'm just saying a lot, but always is some of the guys in the space, you got to deal with these relationships, man. You can't sit here and hold these women on, this high horse. Because let's be honest, some of these women, they just messed up. You know, they not gonna get right, and they're gonna bring so many men down with them because they cute. They are cute, and they've never been told no. Some women got that look to where guys would just, give up their checks. And once they know that, they play it. They play it to win. That's the same thing in society when it comes to the women getting all this money and everything else that we read about and hear about. Most of those women not even gonna qualify for that money. They're gonna get this business off the ground. It's just gonna be them. Most business, you know, just starting up, all these entrepreneurs and all, you only have one employee, that's yourself. Kevin talked about that being the boss. How you gonna be the boss of who? You? Even if you get 2 or 3 employees, your 2, 3 employees, you have to pay them minimum wage. You can't pay them what they're working because it's not in the budget. First starting off a company, honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I've done it before. Man, money's tight, especially when you haven't even had a paycheck and you don't drop $10,000 on a lot of the things that you need, as far as paperwork. If you're doing transportation, you needed a vehicle. As far as like promotion, if that, you know, if you're doing something with fashion, you need promotion. You need just a whole aspect of marketing stuff. It takes a lot. And a lot of people, when they come to that situation, you know, they're at a crossword to where I can get somebody honestly pay them a decent wage, or I can sit here and not hardly pay them anything. But when it come down to it, I'm all about the money, you know, and that's in business. We're, we're always constantly doing things, even in work right now, to get the money. An aspect within this space right here, yeah, the money's there, but are we gonna just stop there, man? Like I said, have to start thinking about the next generation. A lot of us dudes, within this space, you know, we good. The others, they ain't gonna make it. I mean, being honest. That's why 52% of the men are not married, because a lot of these women are not doing right. And the ones that do slip through the cracks and get married, that means they found someone decent. You know, like I'm saying, not every woman is going to change up. And if they're only changing, it's because why? Their selfish nature. They're wanting something out of the relationship. They're wanting something to, kind of be whole. I've always pushed this about women who get married, just like back in the day, um, the girls who had babies in high school because their friend had a baby. Getting married, almost in most cases in certain women aspect, is something to do. You know, to say I got married. Most of them filing for divorce because they never really wanted to be married. You gotta look at that aspect. A lot of guys got to start vetting these women properly and letting them know that, hey, she might not be the one. You know, when it comes down to it, you can get a real nice, cute lady, pretty, whatever. But if she's just not the one, she's just not the one. You know, if she can't cook, don't wait 5 years down the line and complaining about her cooking. 5 years, now you want to start saying she wasn't always a great cook. You can't wait 5 years down the line and say, man, she tripping because she don't want to have sex, but she never really had sex like that much when you got into the relationship. But she was pretty enough to be on your arm. So until that's why you stayed with her. A lot of guys got to start, coming to the reality, man. Why are you picking most of these women? Society says certain women are cute because they got a big butt, you know, pretty looks. But to a certain standard, you you want to stay with that woman forever. You want to be with that woman, but is she worthy? You know, um, what's the guy? Cat Williams said, when you're at the club, you see a pretty woman, you want to hit, all cute. He said, go rub one out in the car or in the bathroom, come back out and see how good she looked. That's the aspect, to the point where if men start taking a lot of this whole sex off the table and, you know, not saying that you're going to get a woman with bad looks, but start looking at the inside, what she's bringing to the table. Because if you start conducting your relationships like business, you'll start looking at value within the women. You know, how is this going to help me in my corporation? How adding you will benefit me versus me benefiting you? Because when you add these women in to your life, they get a whole lot of benefits. I've always said that, dealing with women is like having an infinite 401k. Women get to go in there, pull money out, you know, whether they work, they put money in, but they're always going to be taken care of to a point. Day one before the marriage, when you actually go out on that date, you're paying. When you're getting married, you're paying for the ring. In most cases, guys are paying for the wedding. You know, Roger talks, about this to where if I pay for the ring, traditionally, their dad supposed to pay for the wedding. And like I said, throughout, once you start that relationship, a lot of women are getting taken care of throughout. Even if the relationship fails, she still has gotten gifts from you. She has gotten, just a plethora of things, to the point where men got to start understanding, helping these other guys out. Not even lying. I hear guys in their 40s and 50s in space, they're undereducated about women, man. I mean, the relationship aspect, being in a relationship because of certain things, knowing when to leave. I know older guys that are still in a miserable relationship because they can't afford to get a divorce because they don't want to lose stuff. So you're willing to be miserable for the rest of your life because of stuff. Man, I bought this, I accumulate this all. Dude, I'm gone. I had this discussion with my wife last night. I told her, I said, man, I cannot live miserable for the rest of my life. You know, she ultimately heard a couple of Kevin's videos and a couple of other guys' videos, BGS and stuff within the space. Gold Professor too. Listen to Gold Professor channel, and she was laughing about Gold Professor with them break raps. She was like, "What's that?" I said, "Yeah, he Gold Professor, and he's vegan." Shout out to Ism. But when it come down to it, man, even a lot of guys in this space, they're changing up. You don't see a big change in it because they got to keep it player, keep it the way they do it. But you hear it in their speech, their demeanor, on how they bring in certain messages out on the channels now. To where, me and Kane had this talk. And Kane was like, man, guys are getting away from this old way. And there are the new guys coming in trying to bring this way back, you know. And the guys are not going for it, man. You know, guys are trying to change within the space so they can give a positive message. Then you have other guys that come in, they want to keep this whole wheel going, you know, create a new wheel. Long as certain things get pushed into the space, cool. And we know there's some people who, just change up to be change up, going along with the times. And you got to stick to your message, you know. And for guys that been on their square since day one within the space, that's the key, man. Yeah, being solid. You know, a lot of guys, Gold Professor, I always say, some of the smaller stores sometimes carry the best products because no one's out there looking. And when they come to it, oh man, oh man. And I'm gonna shoot y'all with one because about to get ready to jump off. Actually about to head over to Gold Professor. But within the 9 laws of self-government, he made those keys to help within relationships of yourself. Not dealing with the women aspect, yourself. Because once you start dealing with yourself, everything within relationships, family, it all be taken care of. Rule number one with the discipline. You gotta be disciplined to, set a standard in your life. You gotta be disciplined to, you know, hit that goal. Got to at all costs. You know, that's the best way to be in a relationship and find a wife is being disciplined. You know, you got to set a standard in your life. I'm actually gonna hop around. I think it was rule number 4, I believe. It is reading, from the aspect of reading. You know, you gotta have some type of knowledge. You know, And I'm gonna go back to three. Apply selfishness. You know, rule three, apply selfishness because in certain aspects, a lot of guys got to start thinking about themselves. Don't go into a relationship uh with the aspect of pleasing a woman. That whole happy wife, happy life thing is funny because if you're not happy, how can you make someone else happy? So you got to apply selfishness. You got to apply selfishness and to get yourself better, man. You know, build you up for you. You know, when it come down to it, you making money to get things in life. If you choose to, be with a woman and have a wife, so be it. But the point of it is, you still got to think about yourself. Once you think about yourself, you start applying, you know, people around you to help them and think about them as well. You know, rule number nine: plant these seeds and watch them grow. You got to start thinking about the future. You know, that's the whole thing about within this space. A lot of guys are taking it one day at a time. We can't do that. We cannot take this one day at a time because, as far as the long haul, you got to think farther into the future. You got to understand if you're going to have a relationship or not, there's some things that got to be in play. You know, if you want a house, you can't just wake up one day and want a house and, run down there to the bank, go put down the money for the loan. Within, so just find a house on the first day. Go. It takes time. It takes planning. I used to move furniture. I had a guy who bought a house online because it was such an awesome deal. The dude bought a house for a midget. Dead funny. He had a real estate agent. Real estate agent, horrible. Knew this house was for a midget. He went and told the real estate agent and look at the house, send him pictures of the house. And the guy ultimately bought the house. It was a hella deal too. I'm talking about the house was bad, but hella deal. It was made for a midget. The toilet was small. The cabinets were short down to the ground. And believe it or not, this guy was like six. I think it was 6'3" or 6'4". So it was so odd just walking into the house and seeing damn near the sink like at his at his calf muscles, man. Like the sink was literally down there at his calf muscles. A lot of that stuff was just short. And I was sitting there crying, laughing, man. It was funny. And we was all just, just looking. And he was like, man, this was the first house I found online. Man, it was a great deal. Man, I hurry up and put an offer in before anybody else would and told him, I paid this and that because he got this little bonus from his job for moving out there. Now, this guy has to do two things with this house. Either he go ahead and put it back on the market or he just, take that loss and go ahead and just say, man, I'm gonna go ahead and fix this house up. I'm gonna change the cabinets out, I'm gonna change the sink, do all this stuff to make it more fitting. You know, the tub, all this stuff was just all small. But in the end aspect, it was crazy. But like I said, I'm about to get ready to jump off and go over here to Gold P, Gold Professor Radio. Shout out to Gold Professor. And we're gonna go over there and get this work because Gold P is one of the guys in the space, kind of creating this channel that what he always say the black man is the biggest and important. So as it stand, fellas and ladies, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off and you know swing over there. Shout out to the people in the building, Absalom, third shout, sir, Smooth was in here. I seen Kane, the Gold Professor, Sheila, E, the Quiet Storm, 3,000 Degrees. What's up with you? No, just scrolling back through for the ones I see come in. Soul Brother, what's going on? And like I say, man, we out of here, man. The Black Manosphere, man. Like I said, that pill at MGTOW was on the back of a car. Believe it or not, it's real. Guys are moving a certain way now. Guys are putting stuff out within a certain way. So we got to look at it, man. What are we doing with this space? Are we building something for the next generation? Or we just on here in fighting? You know, what are we doing? What are we pushing? And with that being said, we gone. I'm out of here.